Emily. Hi, everyone. I think people are coming in now. I'm gonna let people come into the session. Welcome to the sponsor Q&A session. As you saw yesterday in Tony Murphy's opening remarks, he introduced all of our sponsors for the GLOBE program. So with us today, we have Allison Leiter from NASA, Brandon Jones from NSF, John McLaughlin from NOAA, and Kia Henry from the Department of State. So welcome all of you here. Thank you for joining us. We will dive right into a few questions. So how it will work today is that we have questions for each of Allison, Brandon, John, and Kia, and then we will be taking questions from the audience. And Madeline here will be gathering those questions from the audience. So feel free to place them in the chat box, and then we will read them out to the sponsor. And if it's an all question, please let us know if it's for all of them or for a specific sponsor. So thanks so much. And Madeline, I think that you have something fun to show us before we get started.
Yes, I do. So, as many of you know, we have been running a campaign about reaching the millionth satellite match within the GLOBE program. We thought we would have reached it by today, but we are actually just 1,400 away. So we want to encourage all of you to go out and make observations and also attend the C3 session for Globe Observer that's happening at 5 p.m. tonight. But we do have a special message from the sponsors that we thought we would be showing after we had reached it, but we are very close. We're still going to show it. Keep making observations. All right.
Hello, Globe. I'm Allison Leidner, the GLOBE Program Manager based at NASA headquarters in Washington, D.C. I want to congratulate all of you for contributing 1 million cloud measurements that have been matched to NASA satellite data and satellite data from around the world. Go Globe!
Hi, I'm John McLaughlin from NOAA, and I want to seriously thank you for accumulating a stratospherically high number of cloud matches.
This is Brandon Jones with the National Science Foundation, and I just wanted to stop by and say congratulations to the GLOBE community for 1 million satellite matches. Unbelievable. GLOBE, you are awesome.
We wouldn't be celebrating this momentous occasion without your dedication and hard work. Thank you.
All righty. So that is our message from the sponsors. Again, we have 1,400 to go, so please go out and make observations and attend the C3 session at 5 p.m. tonight. You do need to register separately for that, and I will put the link for registration in the chat.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Madeline. That was a great video, and thank you all for taking part of that. Our amazing GIO director has just arrived, so I'm going to pass it off to him. Tony, welcome. Please feel free to start with the questions.
Sure. Thanks, Grace, and thanks, Madeline, for showing the video. And yes, we will do a great job in getting that millionth measurement made, so that the matches can be, or the millionth match made, so that we can have another great achievement for the GLOBE community and the GLOBE program. So we're going to start with our questions, and this is a question for all of the sponsors, but we'll start with Allison in this case. And Allison, what has been the most challenging aspect of the pandemic for you?
So I'm going to answer this on two levels, the professional and also the personal. The professional level has been really challenging to help maintain the connections to people and the individual relationships and the good work and the spontaneity that comes from those conversations. I really enjoy interacting with people in person and even in one-on-one settings virtually. And that just became so much harder in the pandemic. Obviously, you weren't seeing people, but then just kind of the challenges of having to arrange meetings and being so much more intentional about those opportunities was really hard. And it sort of has these very non-specific ways that I think it has impacted all of the work that I've done. I will say that the pandemic has been individually hard on everyone in very different ways. And for me, on a personal level, the biggest challenge was with childcare. I have a 2.5-year-old and 4.5-year-old. And at the beginning of the pandemic, I had a 5-week-old and a 2-year-old. So it was it's quite the ride in that regard. And I'm sure that many of you can understand that. And that's been something that we still work through even 2 years later. So I'll turn it over to my other colleagues here.
Okay, so Brandon, the most challenging personally and professionally?
Yeah, thanks for that question, and following suit to Allison's response. Professionally, I think one of the biggest challenges has been seeing the interruption in the career trajectories for a lot of the students that we support through our programs. They had internships lined up for summers, and those went away, and the classes and courses and institutions were shutting down, and depending on what state they were in, there were all kinds of mixed messages coming out, and so there was quite a bit of an impact on those students' career developments, and we're still trying to figure out what's the best way to support them in those to fill in those gaps in their years, to kind of get things back on track for them, as well as the institutions that they're involved in. I would say personally, a good thing has been being home for some elder care duty responsibilities that we have here at home. So that's been a fortunate thing. But on the downside, I have a daughter who turned 13 during the pandemic and is now transitioning into high school this year. And to watch, at that age, going into being a teenager and things being locked down and so much uncertainty has certainly been tough as a parent to not be able to do a whole lot of things to address that.
John, you're up next.
First, I would like to just echo everything Alice and Brandon said. I was nodding along the entire time. As a manager of grant-funded projects, seeing the challenges that both formal and informal education institutions have had with adjusting their projects, and in the case of informal education institutions, having their doors closed and their revenue streams closed for a long time was tough to see. And probably the toughest part, though, was seeing the fact that the pandemic did not affect all people the same, and the impacts were not equitable. And often the most disadvantaged people in communities were the most impacted. So now working with our partners to try to find ways to get help to those already disadvantaged communities that are even more greatly impacted by the pandemic is key. And on a personal note, again, echoing everything Allison and Brandon already said, we thought we made it through 2020 and 2022 or 2021 without having COVID. And we were feeling good about that. We thought this spring we might be kind of nearing the end. And then my family had COVID twice over a period of 3 months. So back to homeschooling, back to quarantining, back to everything again. So a personal challenge too is just not knowing, there's no set end time. I don't think so. Everybody's got to figure out for themselves how they handle this kind of uncertainty. And so the continuation of the pandemic without a given end time is also, I think, a challenge.
All right. Great. Thank you, John. Kia?
Hi, yes, good morning, everyone. Well, I'll echo everything that was said before. Challenging was seeing the disparity of how people were impacted here at home and across the globe. I think in general, one of the biggest challenges for me was just the unknown. I mean, we deal with the unknown regularly in normal times, but this unknown was different, and this unknown was daily, and it made you have to reassess everything. You had to rethink everything, the way you looked at things, the way you handled things, the way you lived. And having young children at home, I have a 3-year-old and a 10-year-old currently now. was very challenging, and how do I create still a safe and secure world for them? How do I reassure them? That was very challenging. So, and professionally also, because I am at the State Department, we have our very global lens on, or global perspective, and just to see the impacts across the world was overwhelming. So very challenging times.
Great, great. All right. Well, thank you all. And Kia, as you mentioned, the agency that you work in, just in case some people don't remember from yesterday in the introduction, seeing your images on the screen, if you would just give a brief introduction to yourself, and Kia, we'll start with you and work to my left, I guess. So.
Yeah, sure. So I'm Kia Henry, and I'm Public Diplomacy Officer at the U.S. Department of State, and I manage the GLOBE program at the department. And so I'm very happy to be here. I help with embassy connections and all the global agreements between your country and NASA to help become a GLOBE member.
Great. Thank you. John?
Hi all, I'm John McLaughlin from the Office of Education at NOAA, where I serve as an education program manager and help work on projects from our environmental literacy program, including some that have GLOBE components, which is always exciting for me as a believer in the GLOBE model. And I also help support citizen science across our agency.
Great. Thank you. Brandon?
Hi all, Brandon Jones at the National Science Foundation, and I'm in the Directorate for Geosciences. I'm the lead program director for education, career development, and the diversity programs in the geosciences here at NSF. I work across the agency as well as through interagency efforts, including this very important one, which is GLOBE. And I'm the GLOBE point of contact here at NSF and have been a part of GLOBE since I was a teacher over 25 years ago when GLOBE first started. So glad to be here.
Great, thank you. And Allison?
Hi, everyone. I'm Allison Leidner. I work at NASA headquarters in our Earth Science Division, and I am the GLOBE Program Manager. In addition to helping oversee the entire GLOBE program and ensuring that the funding is there and the support is there and helping set strategic direction, at NASA, I also serve as a program manager for early career research and also for climate and resilience applications.
Great, thank you. So question to Brandon. Brandon, from what you know, how do you feel the GLOBE community has responded to the pandemic over the last 3 years?
Oh, that's a great question. I would say GLOBE, the GLOBE community has been out front in demonstrating what Earth observation, how important Earth observation is, and the infrastructure to continue to collect data and have that data available for science to continue and for decision making to continue. I believe GLOBE is a model that the rest of the scientific enterprise can look to. So when traditional means and modes of collecting data and analyzing data may be halted for different reasons, as we've heard, the pandemic shut things down for a while, and hopefully that's over, but we'll see. GLOBE continued. I mean, data was still being collected, and it was still accessible, and students were still able through the GLOBE Observer app to do that in a safely, in their backyards or front yards or wherever they are. So I believe that collective impact across the GLOBE community with the infrastructure and the technology is a model for future science engagement.
Great. All right, thank you. Anybody else want to add to that question? Or to that answer, sorry? Okay, John, you're up next. There are efforts underway at some US government agencies to encourage employee participation in volunteer activities. How do you think US partners might be able to engage in these efforts?
First off, I love this question and I love this idea. I would say federal employees, like all people, have varying skill sets. So finding opportunities that fit with the skill sets of the people you're reaching out to is critical. It's also nice if you can tie what you're asking people to do to the mandates of their agencies, because within a lot of agencies, the employees need the approval of their supervisors to do the volunteer work, and seeing a connection to the agency's mission often will help that supervisor decide to give that permission. One activity that I think is designed for most people to do, especially thanks to the Globe Observer app, is to be data collectors at home. So that's an activity that I think is great to reach out to almost anyone with, and can really help with continuity of data that can be used by schools and partners and everybody else. If you can find some federal employees who really want to be regular 365 data collectors, either at their home or at their offices. Also, if you're working with science agencies or STEM-minded individuals, encouraging them to consider the Globe International STEM Network is key, and serving as judges for science fairs, either regional science fairs or the IVSS. And then if you find the right people with the correct skill sets, serving as mentors or presenters to Globe students is always phenomenal. But again, that caveat that different people have different skill sets, and that may not be an opportunity for everybody. So those are some thoughts. I'm sure there are many more, but I love this idea of reaching federal employees through their volunteer hours to support Globe.
Great, thank you. Kia, this question is for you. So do you think there may be another funding cycle for the Zika project from the State Department?
Well, first I want to say that I'm glad to see that the efforts continue beyond the original program. Like that's very encouraging. And although there is no formal plan from Washington, D.C. to fund the program, we are still considering other opportunities to highlight and amplify and support the program. And that can happen in a variety of ways. And I would encourage the Globe community to be creative, to present some ways that they see that we can support the program as it continues. Also, another avenue may be every embassy and consulate have a small grants program where they issue out a call for ideas for projects. And so I would encourage you to participate in that funding call. And usually the deadlines and timeline for that are on their publicly embassy websites.
Great, thank you for that. And yesterday we actually had some country coordinators talk about the relationships that they have with U.S. Embassies in their country, and it was and it was really wonderful to hear all of that and how it's flourishing over the last couple of years.
Great.
So now we have a question from the audience, which is quite a there's actually a number of questions in it, so I'm going to try to pick the main theme, I think, in it here, which is around the plan for special need and different populations, multilingual, multicultural, multiracial, multigendered, and different processing types of learners from inner city, suburban, villages, and disaster zones into finding jobs, studies, and resources in Globe, and with community leaders of school planning for resources. So what kind of role, I guess, can Globe play in that kind of a situation and in helping these different populations to really get engaged in science and or STEM? So that's to all of you.
I can start by saying that it's very important to me that Globe has been and that Globe continues to be a welcoming and inclusive place to students and teachers and partners with all learning types, from all different backgrounds, with all different languages, because we come together to help understand our earth, which we all live on. So it's, I think, ingrained in the Globe approach. And I am really proud of all of the measures that Globe has taken to support people from all backgrounds and people from all learning types. We have a diversity, equity, and inclusion working group that is relatively new to help bring this to the forefront of everything that Globe does. And I want to put a real thank you to everyone on that working group and the task force that preceded them for the efforts that you've had in helping the program really pay attention to these many considerations. While I think that we have done a lot of really great things, there is always an opportunity to do more. And one of the things that I've really appreciated from the meeting this week is how so many of the teachers and partners really put to their forefront differences in learning styles and how they think about creating education materials that address those at different ages, how people think about multilingual resources, and how people think about connections to various cultures. And that has been so wonderful to see. And again, really speaks to how this is ingrained with the Globe program. And so I'm very thrilled with all of that work. And I'm also thrilled when I hear all of you discuss it and talk about opportunities for that for the future. So I do think that there's additional resources that we can think about putting towards those types of activities, and making sure that we emphasize that even further. So that's really kind of an over-encompassing approach to that specific question. And I'll see if my colleagues have anything else to add to this.
This is John. I'll say, Allison, I love that you stressed different learning styles. I mentioned at the beginning that I'm a believer in the Globe model. And part of the reason is because I've seen it happen. Through my years involved with the Globe, I've been fortunate to be able to visit classrooms and do field activities with students. And what I initially found really surprising was how some of the students who were the most engaged and the most involved and the quickest to answer when we were out in the field, I later would talk to the teachers and find out they were the ones who struggled in the classroom setting. So the field experiences for Globe can be so powerful, but finding ways to adapt those field experiences so they're accessible to all is, I think, a big challenge and something I've seen efforts in Globe to address, but there are major challenges that I think continue to need work to make sure the power of doing authentic science is available to all.
Thank you, John.
Yeah, just quickly jump in and build on Allison and John's comments, which are awesome. I'll return to my statement about Globe being a model for how to do science in all of its aspects. And so my comment is to shift the focus away from all of you out there, the students, teachers, coordinators, everyone who's involved in the community, and shift it to the research system that has historically been very exclusive in many ways. And Globe intentionally moves against that exclusive inertia in the research system because it's international, because it's inclusive in all of the ways it's designed, because there's this backbone organization with the technology that everyone can connect to. So again, I would reemphasize that holding Globe up as a light to the rest of the research enterprise to say, this is how science should be done. And it's not just for scientists, and it's not just for individuals from certain institutions or certain countries, but it's for everyone. So I wanted to kind of bring out that point.
Great. Thank you, Brandon. Kia, do you have anything to add? Or
Yes, and I would just say that as Brandon was saying, it's the program is for everyone. I would add in everywhere. And so from the State Department perspective, just the fact that this is a program that can carried out anywhere is a model for how to do science. It's a model for how to do science diplomacy. It's a model for how to involve and connect with different populations everywhere. So it's for everyone and for everywhere.
Great. All right. Thank you for those answers. And I think everybody here would probably agree with all of what you've said. And so the next question is for Allison. And Allison, are there any plans to improve the Globe website so that it can better support networking, resources, curation, and resource dissemination? For example, have you considered one common area of the website for teachers, trainers, and other community members to easily and quickly share resources they have developed for student engagement in Globe?
Great, thanks, Tony. So we are making improvements to the website all the time. Some of those are smaller incremental changes as we, hear about problems and we address problems. I would encourage all of you, if you encounter any either challenges with the website, there's something that you've seen changed and you really like it, or there's something you would like to see, to make sure that you do send that message to the community support team via the various help buttons on websites, because that's how we know what we need to fix, or if we fix something and it worked. So we really need that feedback. In terms of, you'll be hearing from DIS about some changes coming down the road. That is the Data and Information System Team, or SSAI, as many of you know them as. And we are looking to improve the ease of navigation of the website, where we still retain all of the functionality that is needed for partners and teachers to do their work, but also make it a little bit lower the barrier of entry into the website. As part of that process, we are also looking at ways to improve collaboration across teachers and partners and anyone else in the program who wants to collaborate and create those spaces. It's going to take some time, and I ask for your patience. And unfortunately, we don't have limitless resources. And so we do wind up prioritizing different activities. And that's not to say this isn't a priority. I think it's really important, but it has to be balanced against a number of other things. So we are looking at those. We've heard from the community very strongly that it's something they're interested in. And if the community is interested, I'm interested. And I know that the implementation office and the data systems team are also interested, because we're here to support the community and enable all of this Globe work to get done, and get done so well and in such a passionate way. So yes, we are making improvements to the website. Some will be coming soon. Not everything will be able to get done, but we're working on it.
Great. All right. Well, thank you for that answer, Allison. And Brandon, the next question is for you. Is NSF open to proposals that develop new Globe protocols? And if so, what opportunities could the community propose to?
That's a great question. And I'll take this opportunity to say that NSF has a formal relationship with NASA. And so I work closely with Allison and Amy Chin, but Allison more directly, on these types of questions from the community and how best to support them. So NSF has over 300 plus programs across all the directorates where we could receive proposals, and we have supported the community, the Globe community, in all different types of programs, and our GeoPats programs and workshop proposals, et cetera. So we would be open to those proposals, but we would also be in close coordination with the lead agency, NASA, to ensure that we are supporting the community in the most efficient and useful way. So yes, but through coordination with NASA. So
okay, great. Thank you. Now a question from the audience for each of you here. And this is a very interesting question. So from each of the sponsors' perspectives, what is the most important Globe outcome to measure?
I'll jump out there first and say, um, from my perspective, I think the most important outcome to measure is the connections made. The connections made and their impact on the people, the participants, and the environment. That's quite broad, but from a diplomacy perspective, I think that's one of the most important outcomes, because when you are engaging in observations and the protocols, and you're connecting together and you are contributing to something that can be used globally to help solve shared problems across the world, that's the essence of diplomacy. And to be able to measure that with Globe's footprint and with all the participants, I think is very significant.
Great, thank you. Anybody else like to jump in, or John, should we go across?
Yeah, I can go next.
Yep.
There are so many outcomes of Globe that choosing one is tough. And so I'm going to not answer on behalf of NOAA, but specifically answer on behalf of my office at NOAA, the Office of Education. And for us, looking at student achievement and student interest in STEM learning and STEM career paths is mission critical, because that's a large part of our NOAA education strategic plan. And specifically with Globe, love to see how engaging in authentic science, which Globe offers, and connection with the rest of the world that Globe offers, provide unique benefits relative to other science education projects that don't bring those same components.
Okay, good. Thanks for that. Brandon?
Yeah, I'm trying to hone in on something, but I'm going to build on John's comment and say that probably across the world and all the different learning systems and educational ecosystems that exist, how is Globe being used? And to Kia's point, what is the educational impact of Globe methodologies, protocols, and content and data as it's used through all the, I guess, the K-12 or whatever the analogous system is in other countries. So looking at how that Earth system science content is accessible to younger citizens, so that they have a knowledge of it as they are moving through their academic pathways. And I know here in the US, that's a challenge because of the way most K-12 systems are set up and the science content that is present. So I think that the educational outcomes would be the big thing.
Okay, great. Thank you. Allison?
Well, I agree with everything that John, Brandon, and Kia have said. So I will add what I think is an important one. I'm not sure that we can really put ourselves in the position to say the most important, because Globe is a uniquely expansive program. For me, sitting within a science agency and also from my personal opinions about the world, I think that an amazing outcome from Globe is when we see students who are able to pose strong research questions and feel that they understand potential methods to address those research questions. I feel very strongly that people should be able to critically look at information, scientific information or otherwise, and be able to understand what are the questions behind that information, what were the methods used to come up with answers, and be able to really think about that both from their individual perspectives as well as from looking at other people's research projects and other information that's presented. And I think that Globe is an amazing opportunity to support the critical thinking through science-based research and sort of thinking like a scientist. And I think that is a value to students, irrespective of what career paths they pursue, and also enables them to pursue STEM pathways if that's the opportunity that they want to be able to pursue. But I really feel strongly that, whether you become a scientist or not, being able to understand those kinds of approaches to answering questions and being able to critically analyze information is key. And I'm not an evaluation expert. I couldn't pinpoint, and this is how we would measure it. I know that the question came from someone who has that expertise, but those are the things that I really believe are incredibly important for the GLOBE program and the kinds of things that I would love to be able to measure.
Great, thank you. And just to Brandon's point, there are numerous countries around the world that have integrated the GLOBE protocols and learning activities into their national curricula, and it's great to see that. And here in the US, then there are some partners who have looked at the alignment of the next generation science standards to GLOBE protocols and activities as well. So there's certainly a lot of that delving into the education ecosystems, as you call it, happening in GLOBE all of the time. So, and we have about 9 minutes left. And so I will jump, I think, to the next audience question. And is Eric there? There he is. So Eric, if you want to ask.
Thank you, Tony, and sorry for the background traffic noise, but good to see you, Allison, and kudos to you on taking care of young kids during this crazy pandemic. Sorry, I had a long question, couldn't type it out, but it may be more of an experience thing. I became interested in education as a direct result of being involved with GLOBE. I was fortunate to work with Elisa Levine, who was the GLOBE Soils PI, and also was lucky, or got a new investigator program grant that allowed, back in the day, it had an education component to it. It does not anymore. So just kind of thinking, I mean, my question is perhaps, so how do you engage that next generation of young scientists who's coming into NASA, kind of like looking for things and maybe really open to trying out things that maybe not formal education, but what are ways to do that? Obviously, opportunities to propose to are great, but I don't know if those will happen, but yeah, because I think you can also make an impact on diversity as well by bringing in that next generation of young scientists who would be, I think, maybe have more of an open mind to getting involved with GLOBE. And so sorry for the long question.
Thanks, Eric. And sort of to encapsulate, I think what you're asking is how at NASA, but perhaps even more generally, how do we welcome early career researchers to sort of get ingrained in GLOBE as part of their efforts to do outreach and to support STEM education, and sort of basically in training the scientists who work with GLOBE in the same way that we work with pre-service teachers who go on to become teachers. And I think that's a great question. I don't think that it's something that NASA has tackled formally. I think informally mentorships are really important. And so when more senior management and leadership set the tone that these things are valuable, that helps enforce the notion that spending time on that is not a waste. It's something that's really valuable. And I think that we do make those attempts. I do think that there's some opportunities for additional structures, and it's not something that I've considered as explicitly. I know one of the science activation projects, I think it's the one that some of the work that WestEd does, has been looking at how to help subject matter experts do better connections when they're in a classroom, and help prepare them and help understand what makes a good interaction with a subject matter expert, with which includes early career scientists. And I think creating more opportunities to work with scientists at any stage or age, to have them have effective collaborations with students or teachers or classrooms as a whole is really important. And so I think that that's something that I'd like to take a look at even more formally, because I think we've seen a lot of cases where scientists are ready to jump into the classroom because they have a passion for education and a passion for outreach, but that's not always matched with the skill set, and it takes a little bit of honing to get them to that place where they can be really impactful for the students. And so while we don't have a plan for that, I can tell you that, and I'll just make this point now, I love all of these questions because they really make me think about very different aspects of the program, and I love hearing the answers from my colleagues. And so keep the questions coming because this has already given me some ideas. So thank you, Eric.
Great, and I'm still learning myself. And by the way, I'm going to be using all of John's cloud type material in my next presentation. It was seriously good, John. Thank you.
Brandon, John, or Kia, you want to add anything to Allison's answer?
I'll just follow up since I put something in the chat. It was an article that actually mentions highlighting altruism is a more effective way of attracting a diverse set of participants to the sciences, in this case geosciences, than just strictly scientific disciplines, science for discovery, which is key and foundational. And I think what GLOBE does, and the magic of GLOBE, is that it uniquely balances the science for science sake with the applied portion. There is an automatic connection to societal benefit and access for all that we still struggle with in what we would refer to as the natural and physical sciences and agencies as well. And so GLOBE, again, is a model on how to conduct science. Yes, we need discovery science, but we need it for this reason, because there are so many societal issues, as Kia brought up, that need to be addressed. So I would encourage everyone to kind of take a look at that paper for attracting students earlier in the pipeline to Earth System Sciences.
Thanks, Brandon. John or Kia? Okay.
Eric,
Did you want to say something?
I was just saying, great question, Eric. And you mentioned my play on words in the thank you video. I didn't want those to cloud the fact that I really am amazed by the achievement you all made. So tried to make the video fun, but I want to say in all seriousness, incredible accomplishment. And with regard to your question, it's great to see the impact you mentioned of a young researcher award that brought you into education. We at our Office of Education Funds, and we encourage all of our applicants to have a NOAA partner, usually from the scientific side of NOAA. And we've seen that there as well, that those partners on education projects tend to get engaged in education, and it can be career changing. But the education funds are not big enough to have a major impact on the field. So finding ways to leverage larger funding sources is going to be key.
Okay. And Kia, do you want to add anything?
Well, I just wanted to offer some words of encouragement that I have noticed that this upcoming generation is focused on altruistic ideals. I think more so than ever, given, these shared challenges that we face, like climate change. So I think more than ever, it would be easier to reach this next generation with something as like science that applies to everyone, because they are focused more on the collective.
All right, great. And I think that's a great way to end the panel. I wanted to thank the sponsors for their time and preparing for this, and they take it very seriously, let me tell you, and they do give some wonderful answers. And as Allison said, these questions really make us think about the program and moving forward with the program and how we can get community members through either the working groups or whatever other methods that we can to help provide some direction for the program and the future of the program. So thank you for joining us today. There are a lot of questions that we have gathered, and we will, I think what we'll try to do is answer those questions and put them out on the website so that if you've submitted a question, you can at least hear an answer or see an answer to that question. And as I'm looking at some of them here, there are some great questions, again, that have been submitted, and we just didn't have enough time to get to them. So just a reminder, there are sessions starting in 15 minutes. There are 2 data information systems clinics. One is for country coordinators and US partners. And, oh, sorry, I'm looking at the wrong day here. It popped up as Wednesday and not as Tuesday. So let me get into Tuesday.
You are correct, Tony. We do have the DIS clinics are today.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
It seemed to be Wednesday there for a minute, but I'm going ahead of myself here. But we have the 2 clinics, and then we also have. Let me see if I can get back to this now. Come on. Okay. And we have the learning the protocols is the other session that we have going on in 15 minutes. So whichever one of those you'd like to choose to go to, please select those, and they'll start in about 15 minutes. Again, thank you to the panelists, to the sponsors, and thank you to the sponsors as always, because this program would not be where we are today without their support and their agency's continued support over the last 27 years of the program. So thank you very much to the agencies for that. And also thank you for joining us. And yes, then we can give a big virtual round of applause to everybody for joining and for the questions. And we'll see you in 15 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you very much.